drift. Blah, blah, blah. I can't believe this. Okay. Drug-resistant bacteria. So you know about the fact that tuberculosis, there is a lot of tuberculosis bacteria are resistant to the antibiotics that are used to normally cure it. Some malarias are, and many diarrheal diseases are as well now. And this example is the antibiotic vancomycin was widely used in hospitals in the US in intensive care units, and it was extremely effective. So this is the percentage of resistant bacteria in hospitals, and the change, none of them used to be from 1983 to 1989, 1988, and then 1989 the first resistant cases of the bacterium occurred, and in 2001 almost 30% of bacteria in hospitals in the US and the intensive care units were antibiotic resistant. Now remember, it's not the person who's resistant to antibiotics, it's the bacteria that is. Yeah.
So Matt, does that help it? Like, you know how in hospitals there's a chance that you get a superbug?
That's what they mean by superbugs.
Okay, cool.
How do they combat that? Like you said, it's not the clean.
There's no real way of.
Just use different antibiotics the entire time.
Yeah, but the problem is like, I think that there's 6 different antibiotics that they use normally for TB. And the extremely drug resistant one is resistant to all 6. So the problem, there are lots of problems associated with this. So one is that the pharmaceutical companies are not prepared to put research and money into making or investigating, trialing more antibiotics, because the bacteria so quickly become resistant to them. So what's the point of putting all this money into developing a new kind of antibiotic, and the bacteria within a few years become resistant to it? Then they've lost all that money. So now they're not putting money into it anymore. And they've also sort of reached the end of their limit they've reached the limit of the different kind of antibiotics that people know about. So now what are they going to do to kill bacteria? I must tell you, I'm so glad I'm old and going to die soon. You guys are going to be lumped with this, not me. Yeah.
Because like for me, like personally, I'm allergic to cephalosporins. So like I get it's
Just okay, let's try that whole word again.
Okay, it's antibiotics.
Mm-hmm. So you're resistant to one particular kind?
Yeah, like every single antibiotic that has that chemical, I'll experience the worst case scenario side effect.
Okay, so you're allergic to it.
Yeah.
Very different thing from being resistant to it. And remember, it's not you that's resistant to it. If you became resistant to it, it's a bacteria in your body that is resistant to it. So if I get extremely drug-resistant TB, and I take all 6 of those antibiotics, I'm not resistant to those antibiotics. My bacterial form of TB is. But you're just allergic to that particular antibiotic. So you would have to, that cuts down the number of antibiotics that can be used if you get a bacterial infection.
So
Yeah.
fungus more likely to die.
That's not nice.
Yeah.
You won't pass that when you take the usual.
Okay, right, so we've spoken about that. Okay, 2013, antibiotic-resistant pathogens are emerging as a critical human health issue, declared the World Health Organization in 2013, with 2 million Americans every year being infected with diseases that are resistant to known antibiotics. And between 10 and 15,000 die as a result of that. Okay. There's also insecticide resistance. So you know that an insecticide kills insects generally, but insects are developing an insecticide resistance to it. Like even malarial carrying mosquitoes are.
No
Ways. Okay. All right. The impact of climate change, different topic in the other direction. Impact of climate change on evolution. With global warming, obviously you know that there are higher temperatures in most places, not all. Okay. There are environmental changes, natural selection occurs, and it leads to evolution. And there are all sorts of things. It's hugely complicated. So field mustard plant flowers earlier, which must mean that the insects that pollinate it must also be around earlier. They've changed, a lot of birds have changed their migration patterns. A lot of birds lay their eggs earlier, etc. Okay, so there must be evolution going on there. Okay, you may communicate for a millisecond while I change this.
I'm allergic to citrus.
But the shelf turn was so beautiful.
She's going, how do you know you're allergic to syphilis? What have you been doing that you know you're allergic to syphilis?
Shucks. Gr12 is to end of second half hour, 23rd of July. And